A local shop in my area hosted a no-cost comic day that included a 25-cent sidewalk sale on back issues. Check it out. Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Chris and this is Northgarden Comics. Since 2002, the comic book industry has been hosting an annual event called Free Comic Book Day. Traditionally held on the first Saturday in May, it's participated in by any number of publishers offering free comics to readers like you and me, hosted by comic book stores all across the country, and now it's even a global event, but it is all aimed to draw seasoned and new readers alike into the comic stores to get not only free books, but then hopefully to pick up something new and gain new readership. In 2020, of course, like many other things did not go as expected, and Free Comic Book Day did not happen as planned. Instead, the industry adapted, and instead of launching all of those free comic books on the first Saturday in May, they adjusted and said, let's call it Free Comic Book Summer now that stores are opened up again, and each week they would release a few books to those local stores, and then the stores kind of had some freedom to determine how they wanted to execute their plan for Free Comic Book Day. Well, in my area, one of the bigger local chains here called Hot Comics and Collectibles, they have 3 locations. What they decided to do was pretty cool. They figured they would hold all of their Free Comic Book Day comics for the entire summer and then host one big one-day event at the end of summer. They just had it last weekend over Labor Day weekend, so that was the first Saturday in September, and they hosted Free Comic Book Day, though modified because they had to limit the number of people in stores, things like that, but they still wanted to make it a special event, and they called it No Cost Comic Day because that's not trademarked. They also accompanied that with some sales at each of their locations. The one I want to highlight is at their Jordan location where I went. That store in particular was hosting a 25-cent sidewalk sale with 15 to 20 long boxes of back issues. That caught my attention right away, and I made sure to head down to Jordan to check that out. And those are the books that I want to show you here today. I will say that when it comes to a 25-cent sale, you have no idea what to expect. You could find hundreds and hundreds of books that are so poor quality that you don't even want to spend a quarter on them, but I was very pleasantly surprised by the selection they had to offer. I came home with some newer books, I came home with some older books, and I got a lot. I got 55-ish books and spent less than $15, which is just so crazy. But I did use a surprising amount of restraint. And so as I show you these books, I'll kind of explain why I chose these books and maybe why I left some of the others behind. The other thing that happens at a 25-cent sale is that 25 cents is such a good price. And when you find such good books at a quarter, everything else sounds expensive. So to put that into perspective, my sweet spot for buying back issues is $1 or $2 a book. So then when I go and get all these books for 25 cents a piece, if I go then see the same book for $1, I'm like, oh, a whole dollar for that book? That's so expensive. So 25 cents can spoil you when the quality of books is this good. So I'm really happy with what I found. I hope that you see some things here that you like as well. So with that being said, let's get to the books. First up here, this is an old Image title, early 90s, Stormwatch #1, Jim Lee cover, and this was one I just picked up because A, I didn't have it, and B, I think the 90s generation now, they're at the point where some of these more nostalgic things for them are becoming more popular and coming back, and I did get into some of the Image titles when they came out, but never had this one, so I figured I'd grab it. We've got Captain America from the first volume, number 333. I'll also say that as I show you these books, however you see them is how they were in the boxes. So in this case, no bag or board here today and no bag or board when I bought it. So given that it had no bag or board, it's in surprisingly good condition. The pages are nice and white, and I'll show you here kind of the significance of this issue. This is the first time that John Walker, Super Patriot, puts on and gets called Captain America. So you can see the pages are nice and white there, but that's him putting on that Captain America costume for the first time. And it's it's considered somewhat of a key, and I'm not making a full run out of this for my collection, but if you find even a minor key for 25 cents and in this good a shape, I'm definitely not going to leave it behind. Next up, I've got some of the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. Here's number 112, which I bought just for the cover, really. That cover's always caught my attention, thought it was kind of cool looking, and so I grabbed it. Then we've got number 119, which again was primarily a cover buy. The pages are nice and white as well, but I liked the Sabretooth cover on that one. And then the next two were actually duplicate buys for me. They were newsstand, and I may or may not have newsstands already. I'd have to double check, but they were in such good shape and they're part of this 6-part story that I didn't want to leave them behind. That was 131, and here's 132. And I mentioned I got some recent books as well. Look at this. We got a tie-in issue from the Empire event storyline that's going on right now at Marvel. This is Captain America #1. I think it's either a 3 or 4-part tie-in. The story seems okay. Again, it was another cover buy. Cover is Mike Henderson, and I like his style. I really started to get into him with the 12-part limited series Dead Man Logan, and then just started to notice when his name would appear with the art credits and other things, and like his drawing style, so I grabbed that again for $1, and I'll probably continue to look for the other issues of that limited series and get those for cheap when I can. Here we've got from the main run of the current Fantastic Four volume. This is Fantastic Four number 23. It is also a tie-in to Empire, but just as part of the main title. This one, when you see really new issues like this in a 25-cent bin or even in a $1 bin, there's usually a reason, and it's usually something to do with the condition. There's nothing wrong with that Captain America that I just showed you, but if you look up here, I don't know if it'll focus on that, but the top is damaged, it's kind of dinged up, it's ripped a little bit, and that's why this wound up in the quarter bin. I'm not worried about that though. You know, and you can see the top, yeah, you can see it's kind of dented and wrinkled there. Most books today are not going to be worth tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars. They're most likely just going to, at best, get cover price or wind up in a $1 bin at some point anyway. And I just want the story, so I'm not terribly concerned about that ding up there on the top. Back to Captain America. Here's number 358. This is part 2 of the Bloodstone Hunt story. The key issues in this story are actually 359 and 360. I think 359 is the first cameo appearance of Crossbones, and then 360 is his first full appearance. So those usually command a little bit more value. This does not, and reflected by the fact that I found it in a 25-cent bin. Again, in very good condition. And I'm also looking to put this story together. I've just read good things about the story, so I'm trying to piece that together, and I'm still holding out. I'm convinced that at some point I can find a 359 and a 360 for $1, $2 if I'm patient. The next two were a surprise find. These are by creator Joe Madureira. I really loved him on the X-Men titles back in the 90s, and in the late 90s he came out with his own series that apparently has some real publication challenges in terms of delays, and so he did a 10-issue run, 9 issues? It may only be 9 issues, of a title called Battle Chasers, and they had the first 2 issues bagged and boarded, and he wrote it, and he did the interior pencils as well. So I picked up issues number 1 and 2, so that was a fun find, and because it wasn't on my wish list, and I just happened to cross them, now I've added the subsequent issues, 3 through 9, to my wish list. Here we've got Avengers number 363. I don't know the story inside at all. This was purely a nostalgic metallic cover buy for 25 cents. They had some Marvel Age. These were, it was a comic style type of a previews magazine. You know, one of the later issues had the first preview pages of the Infinity Gauntlet and other things. So they've only recently, for example, made it into the Overstreet comic book price guide, but this is issue 36. Nothing particularly special about this issue. I just liked the cover, and this previews Frank Miller's return to Daredevil, which he resumed, I believe, on issue number 228, and then did the Born Again storyline. So grab that for the cover. The next one was another somewhat surprise find. I've only seen this limited series one other time in the wild and had never heard of it, but just happened to see it. The store I was at that time had a handful of the issues. It's a 6-issue limited series, but I left them behind because they were pretty beat up. This day, though, they had all 6 issues and everything was bagged and boarded. And I love the creative team, I love the characters, so I grabbed it. We've got Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine, written by Jason Aaron of Thor God of Thunder fame and Jane Foster Thor fame, as well as art by Adam Kubert. So 6-parter, they had all 6 parts. That's a wraparound cover. It's in bag and board, can't show you there. So number 1, number 2, and just a little fun fact, I posted one of these covers on Instagram just the other day and had the amazing experience that Jason Aaron actually liked my post, which is so cool because it's like I'm fanboy at that point where I'm like, oh my god, Jason Aaron liked my post, which I don't know how I get any credit for that because all I did was post a piece of his creative work, but he liked it. And then I went and started following him on Instagram and noticed that he had posted this cover earlier this summer. And if you notice, like this little Phoenix logo here, but it was interesting because he's about to write in the main Avengers title right now, this Phoenix related story. So just wondering, I don't know if there's some direct connection to this book, but not trying to make anything or something out of nothing, but I just thought it was interesting that I posted a book from this limited series and he posted about this not that long ago. But there's number 2. Here's the cover I did share the other day. Thought that was a great cover. This one I think is a very good cover too. Here's number 4. 5. And I've got to look into this whole Astonishing line because I know there's an Astonishing Thor limited series as well, and I haven't done the research on it, so I've got to read about those to find out what the deal was and why they did those. I think those were early 2000s. I don't know, it could be early 2000s, could be 2010. I would have to double check, but I'm going to look those up to find out more about those. Next several books are from a volume I've been trying to piece together the entire run. It's Excalibur, the first volume. I would collected that as a kid, as a teenager when it first came out, and only ever had like the first 30 issues, and ever, not ever since, but I've been trying to go back and piece together the rest of that volume, which I think is like 125 issues, and I will hold out. They had more issues there than what I brought home, but this is a case where I'll leave something behind if it's not good enough quality, which sounds maybe a little bit too picky when you're only spending 25 cents a book. But with these Excalibur books, like for example, here's number 37. It's a good quality book, and the pages are nice and white, the margins and things there. But these are books that generally don't go for high value to begin with, so I'm going to be patient. Even though it's only 25 cents, if it's dinged up or the pages aren't nice and white, I'll hold out because I know eventually I can find that book for 50 cents or $1. So that's where the pickiness comes in. If I know I can get a better quality for just a little bit more money. Then I also picked up number 40, and this jumps around a little bit because I've got not really sequential holes in my collection. Again, because I am picky sometimes and will leave things behind. This is one I tend to find kind of beat up. I've seen this many times. I don't even love that cover. It's kind of weird, but I finally did get it in good enough condition. Add it to my collection. Here's 58. And I will say, I don't even love all of the art. Any title that you like and follow is definitely going to have kind of these peaks and valleys of the art and the writing and things like that as creative teams change. But I really got hooked on Excalibur and love most of the Alan Davis portions of this. But that being said, I still want to get the whole thing to have that whole story ultimately. And here's number 111. That's one of the higher issues that I still needed. And then the last book I want to show you for now is a book that I was completely surprised to see. I was not looking for this at all. Like I said, you find some newer stuff, you can find some older stuff. And sometimes you find things that I just have no idea why it's in a 25-cent bin. I don't collect this, but had to grab it just because of the age and the quality and the character. So this is DC's Supergirl, the first volume, number 9, from, I think this is 1973-74. It was, yeah, oh, this is actually volume 2, number 9, December, January, 73-74. There, and I think this volume only went for 10 issues, but it wasn't bagged or boarded. It was just in a quarter bin, 25 cents. So of course I'm going to grab that because that's super cool and a little piece of Supergirl history. All right, that's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap up part 1 of this comic book adventure. Believe it or not, we've only seen half the books I brought home from this quarter sale. Here's the stack we saw today, but then next time we'll come back and finish it out and look at this stack here. Of course, I hope you saw something today that you liked, but if by some chance you didn't, come back for part 2 and maybe there'll be something there that you're excited about. I, of course, am excited about all of these books because otherwise I wouldn't have bought them. But I did try to split them up to have a good mix of older and newer things and a variety of titles in both videos, so that way there's a little bit of something for everybody. If you like content like this, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you have stories you want to share about your own comic book hunting, good things you found for great prices, let me know in the comments down below. Now, the last thing I'll say, something up here, there'll be a link to a video. Depending on when you're watching this, it may be an older haul that I've done, or it could be part 2 of this comic book adventure. Either way, give it a click and check it out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.